Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. This is WION Wild is One. We are glad you're watching. I'm Eric Njoka. Our top stories. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and US President Donald Trump speak in a phone call on the first conversation between the two leaders since Trump's inauguration last week. India and China will resume Kailash Yatra during summers. Direct flights between two nations to be operational. Decision comes as Indian Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri holds talks with Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi. Chinese President Xi Jinping calls for renewed efforts to counter economic risks and external shocks in his Lunar New Year message. This even as Beijing braces for more uncertainty following Trump's return to the White House. The Russian and Chinese leaders congratulated Belarus President Alexander Lukashenko for winning a seventh term in office, with Russia's Vladimir Putin saying Sunday's election shows he has the undoubted backing of the people. Chinese AI app DeepSeek says hit by large-scale malicious cyber attack. This even as US stocks plunge amid Chinese AI fear. Kenyan President William Ruto says engagement, dialogue and consultations are the only way out of the escalating conflicts in eastern DRC. Nairobi will host a crisis summit on Wednesday with the leaders of Rwanda and Democratic Republic of Congo as fighting continues. The UK Health Security Agency says a human case of bird flu has been detected in a person in England. The person acquired the infection on a farm in the West Midlands.
President Trump is expected to sign two executive orders relating to the military today. ABC News is reporting that the first will reinstate service members removed from the military for refusing the COVID-19 vaccine, restore their rank, and provide back pay. The second directs the Department of Defense to determine a policy regarding transgender service members based on readiness.
Between the Trump administration and Colombia to end a standoff over deportation flights and tariffs that could have raised prices for Americans on coffee and fresh flowers. All this as President Trump begins his second week back in the White House. ABC's Alex Perche has more.
This morning, the new Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth arriving at the Pentagon for the first time, greeted by the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. The former TV news host and combat veteran sworn into office by Vice President J.D. Vance, who also cast the tie-breaking vote in the Senate to secure his confirmation.
There's an emergency at the southern border. That the protection of the sovereign territory of the United States is the job of the Defense Department.
Military planes being used for the first time in U.S. history to deport undocumented immigrants. The White House claiming victory this morning after Colombia's president blocked two U.S. military planes from landing there over the weekend, turning them away when the planes were already en route. For hours, the two allies locked in a tense standoff. President Trump threatened 25% tariffs on imports. Colombia's president fired back with a tariff threat of his own. A tariff war could have raised consumer costs for the billions of dollars worth of goods the U.S. imports from Colombia each year, including coffee, crude oil, bananas, and flowers. Overnight, the White House announcing the two sides have reached an agreement vowing to hold off on those tariffs for now. Immigration crackdowns now spanning from Atlanta to Los Angeles. Border Czar Tom Homan joined ICE and DEA agents in Chicago, where officials say they've conducted targeted operations.
It's sending a strong signal to the world our border's closed.
This week, the Senate will hold additional confirmation hearings for more of Trump's cabinet picks. That includes Tulsi Gabbard for Director of National Intelligence, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. for Health and Human Services Secretary, and Kash Patel for FBI Director. Alex Brachet, ABC News, Washington.
Hey everyone, I'm Storm Team 10 meteorologist Jason Doors here with NBC 10 Providence. As you might have heard or even felt, we had a magnitude 3.8 earthquake happen just offshore, about 7 miles offshore from York, Maine, earlier on this morning around 10:22. Now, some of the shaking was felt as far south as Providence, Rhode Island, and all the way down the 95 corridor there. This earthquake actually happened about 8 miles below the surface of the earth, so pretty interesting there. But as we take a look here at the strongest earthquakes that have happened in New England over the last 25 years here, 2012 still tops the chart at a 4.7 magnitude. But as you make your way down the list here, you see today's earthquake, 3.8 magnitude again, so it was a little bit stronger compared to some of the more recent ones that we have seen that came in back in 2020. That was 3.6, tied there with a couple others. And take a look at this video from the Stage Neck Inn at York Harbor Beach in Maine. You can see the camera shaking for a couple seconds as the earthquake is happening.
Professor John Ebel, who has been studying earthquakes and monitoring them for years here at the West End Observatory for Boston College. So, John, how does this earthquake measure compare to others that you've studied?
This is about a once in every 5-year earthquake on average that we get. So typically the largest earthquake in New England is about a 3.0, 3.1, maybe 3.2. So this is significantly larger than that, felt over a pretty good area, maybe out to 40, 50 miles from the epicenter.
And what about its location? Is there a fault there? Is this a spot we've known about before?
This is a very interesting location because in 1755 we had a magnitude 6.2 earthquake offshore east of Cape Ann, and there's some earthquake activity offshore that we've detected, and this is kind of at the northern end of that. So that makes it very interesting to me to study the potential for active faults there.
So at 3.8, are we expecting to see some sort of damage on land in close proximity to the epicenter?
I would not expect any damage. Damage starts around magnitude 5. This is an order of magnitude smaller, which means the shaking is 10 times less. So feel a good rumble, shake for maybe as much as 10, 15, 20 seconds, but no damage.
So this occurred offshore, and we haven't had any reports of a tsunami or anything like this. Could this even change the sea level minusculely there along the Maine coast? Could it have caused some waves?
It might have changed the sea level just a tiny little bit, but would not be measurable. It would have to be up around magnitude 6 or greater to cause anything that would be resembling a tsunami.
And of course, there's always a chance that this might be a foreshock, that there could be a bigger earthquake coming. Do we know yet the chances of that?
Not a very large chance. 95% chance that this is it. But about a 5% chance that maybe something bigger could happen in the next few days or weeks or months.
All right. Thank you very much, Professor John Ebel here at the West End Observatory for Boston College. Now back to you.
Let's head over to Los Angeles, where they are finally getting some rain after weeks of devastating wildfires. But the showers are also putting officials on high alert. This is due to the threat of flooding and mudslides that could take place in the area. Now, much of Southern California is under a flood watch throughout this afternoon. The National Weather Service says that the threat is high enough to prepare for the worst case scenario. And while the rain is much needed, the ground is so dry that even a little bit of water could cause a lot of flooding.
There's nothing left holding the soil in place. So even one drop of rain will come down 7 times faster than it typically would have prior to this fire.
Now, even for homes that were spared by the fires, those houses could now experience flooding. And that could cause a whole new issue for homeowners and insurance claims.
Flood is not covered by your basic home insurance policy either, and a lot of these people are not located in an area where they would think they might need a flood policy.
Live Nation will host a benefit concert this Thursday for the victims of these wildfires.
And finally, as heavy snowfall hits China, causing major traffic disruptions and closure of some highway entrances, a yellow blizzard warning has been issued. This at a time when there is already a huge travel rush for Chinese Lunar New Year.
meanwhile, can AI outsmart human beings? Can they replace human beings? These are some of the biggest concerns and the key questions that have been doing the rounds thanks to the rapid rise of AI technologies and the way in which AI has made its presence felt in our lives. To make matters worse, here's something that makes those questions even bigger. What if AI could replicate itself? Does that sound like something that will only happen in a sci-fi movie? Well, think again. AI has now crossed a so-called red line. Artificial intelligence now has the ability to self-replicate. This is as per a new study in the preprint database, ARXIV. And what exactly was found? Should humans be worried, and what do the findings mean for us? The implications are quite serious, since with this, AI has surpassed the self-replicating red line, and that in itself should tell you how significant this is. According to the researchers, successful self-replication under no human assistance is the essential step for AI to outsmart humans and is an early signal for rogue AIs, quote unquote. What it also means is that this has implications for the control and safety of AI systems. Does this mean AI can threaten human interests? And where do things go from here? Here's where things get even more tricky. The behavior of the AI system while cloning itself leaves behind a series of questions and triggers serious concern. In some cases, the AI killed conflicting processes and rebooted the system to fix hardware errors. So the way it overcame the hurdles tells us a lot about the way in which AI can actually act. Never say never is a great quality to have. Overcoming obstacles along the way is great. But what if it's a road that basically ends with AI replacing human beings or becoming more powerful than human beings? That's the worrying part. Are we prepared to deal with this? And where does this stop? The consequences and implications are dangerous, to say the least. While the findings are yet to be peer-reviewed, researchers have urged international collaboration to ensure that AI does not engage in uncontrolled self-replication. They hope that the findings can serve as a timely alert for the human society to put more efforts on understanding and also evaluating the potential risks of frontier AI systems.
I'm Varun Maya, and I'm here at the WEF annual meeting in Davos. And according to this year's Future of Jobs report, technology, particularly AI, is identified as the most disruptive force shaping the labor market. So I wanted to find out, what are the top 3 ways AI is positively impacting future industries?
Number 1 is inclusivity. An example is 1/3 of the world remains unconnected. If you're unconnected, you can't participate in the AI revolution. So the second thing I wanted to highlight was the AI skills gap. So in Davos, we launched the AI Skills Coalition, where we want to bring together all the players in the world that have learning resources on AI and really democratize access to AI skills around the world. And AI holds great promise to achieve many of those goals and targets. So anything from climate change to clean energy to affordable healthcare, education for all, spotting gender inequity, for example, and the more physical manifestations of AI that we see in the real world. And I think it's safe to say that the use cases are definitely there. So simply put, AI for Good is to identify practical applications of AI to advance the SDGs and figure out how to scale those solutions for global impact.
By the way, not sure if you noticed, but the intro of this video was generated with AI.